All right, welcome everyone. My name is Nazim with NazimConsulting.com. Here I'm sitting with Aaron from Artist.tools, Aaron Whittington. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly.
That's great.
Aaron and I have been working together for 3 months now, and Aaron runs a SaaS company that I'll ask him about in a sec. But very quickly, in the 3 months, we managed to add $6,000 in MRR and new subscriptions to at his company. And recently, we tried a new funnel, a webinar funnel, and we had close to $4,000 in sales from that. So things are going really well, and I thought I'd get Aaron on video and have him talk about our work and not just boast about the great work we're doing together, but then also talk a little bit about the company and kind of like the direction we're going to taking it. It's also in a very interesting niche. But anyway, Aaron, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Artist Tools, what it is, what it does?
So, Artist Tools is mostly like data analytics for Spotify. So, for artists, record labels, managers, our primary feature is like a bot detection suite because that's a big problem right now on Spotify and all the other DSPs. Yeah, that's honestly it.
Sounds good. And how come you basically reached out for help, right? Like, where at what point were you where you thought to yourself, okay, external help, especially marketing brain, is what I need.
I think that I'm a solo founder, so I'm wearing all the hats already, and marketing is kind of a beast on its own. And I've maxed out what I could do programmatically. I did like a lot of SEO stuff. We had a lot of referrals, but getting into like the stuff that will actually scale the business was just like a lot of work to commit to on top of everything else that
Mm,
I'm doing to keep the business alive.
yeah, yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. And out of the things that we've done so far, like what's been your reactions? How do you feel about the past 3 months we've been
I
working
feel
here?
good. I feel good. I think I understand our customer a lot better. I think that's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause we did so much deep diving into, like, what the customer wants to hear, like, a lot more about their pain points, interviewing people to figure out, how do we position this? I think that just very confident in the future now.
Yeah, that's cool. And just to explain to the viewers this a little bit better in like layman terms, because you started dropping the ESPs and whatnot.
So
Aaron basically his audience, primary audience, are artists and music curators. And I personally didn't know anything about the industry. Obviously, I know my marketing, my funnels that I like to plug and play in companies, regardless of the industry. Mostly, you're in a very interesting niche, and even when we were crafting our marketing strategies, it was very interesting getting on calls with artists and music curators and agency owners, right, who run small-sized music labels. So, how did you actually get into this industry in the at the first place?
I've always been in the music industry in some way. I was doing YouTube before, I did a lot of stuff on Spotify, and then I think that Artist Tools spawned originally because I was trying to improve my current music industry businesses, so it started as, like, an internal tool. And then I started inviting my friends, other people in the industry who would need something like that, and then eventually turned it into a public offering, and it kinda started evolving from there.
Cool. In your opinion, what was the point when you were like, "Yeah, we're really rowing in the right direction"? What were the earliest signs of success that whatever we're doing is good? It's hitting the bullseye.
For me, I don't even feel like it was more, like, result oriented. I think it was, like, just how many questions we needed to answer to proceed.
Mm,
Like,
mm.
getting fully immersed and, like, figuring out I can't even think of an example, but just, like, having answered all those questions and then we had finally a direction to go from there. I think that was where
So almost like that's something I like doing when I get on board on new projects. I like to just bombard the owners and the team with the questions, and it's at that point.
that's
A
good.
lot of them,
I
yeah,
love
they
that.
like it, right? They're like, "Oh wow, there's so much more. There's so much more room to grow."
Yeah, and I feel like it
Because
really exposes, like, how much you don't know about like, I don't know about whatever we need to answer to scale marketing. Makes me feel like you're becoming actually immersed
mm,
in the customer, I don't know.
yeah, no, it's good. Because when I came on board, you already had hundreds of active members, right? So it's not like it was a new project. And I think at the time you'd already been running Artist Tools for close to 2 years, right? Or the second year already.
Alright.
All right. Aaron, move this chair. We're back.
We're standing now.
um, What was the most surprising thing in terms of marketing that we have figured out from doing the research, basically throwing a bunch of hot potato on the wall, seeing what's going to stick, from interviewing the people? What was like the big revelation to you in terms of marketing that you hadn't know or thought of before?
I think the biggest one for me was how important it was for the product to be as intuitive as possible when we sat down to, like, really improve onboarding and, like, figure out what people struggle with. That was I thought that I had done the best I could have already done to do that, and then improving that, I mean, I think that was the biggest one,
Yeah.
the
And
product, how much of the product goes into marketing.
and that's really interesting because we didn't just do marketing, but also onboarding, email sequences, and even YouTube videos. YouTube organic
Yep.
also had its fair share of small wins. That's interesting, and that was like one of the first things I thought about. The app, the platform looked very good, but obviously it has a lot of features. What we found out was that a lot of features are there, but people are not necessarily using it because Artist Tools is primarily marketing itself or using the bot checker on the forefront as the biggest feature, right? And people were using it for that, but not necessarily the deeper functions such as analytics, AI tools that you've been slowly integrating over the last year or so.
Mhm.
So for me, the biggest almost like tool for marketing has been education and creating not so much running ads, and we're going to get there also, but also helping the customers and non-customers as well understand the full extent how much and how they can use the artist tools in order to help them promote their music, promote their music brand, etc., etc. And that's, I think, what a lot of actual SaaS companies miss is education, because it's very difficult to kind of like get stuck in the weeds of developing it yourself. So you think it's intuitive to other people, but it's not. And especially a lot of SMB, small mid-sized companies that don't have the larger budgets, like Kajabi or whatever, may not have the budget to invest into developing uh, essentially educational content. It's still important to carve out the time and build and create that educational content to turn non buyers into buyers, and then also increase the satisfaction and stick rate of, and obviously reduce the churn rate of members, because they will actually understand how to use the tool, the product, and use it more successfully. So that was like one of the bigger mantras for me over the last 3 months that we've been working together.
I agree.
All
Don't
right.
have anything to add to that. That's honestly perfectly worded.
Yeah. Okay. Last but not the least, let's talk about the webinar funnel and what you thought about before the webinar, and what were your feelings when you saw the results from the from that webinar. Like, you remember when we finished the webinar, you hopped on
Oh,
on a
God.
quick, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
on a quick chat. So let's talk about that. And
Yeah. So I think before the webinar, I was hesitant because I'm not, you know, an in front of the camera kind of guy. I like to keep my head down, just develop the product, whatever I can do in that sense. So it's really challenging for me to get everything prepped for that. And I had low expectations, honestly, just because it's just so out of my wheelhouse. And when we did run the webinar, I was actually quite shocked. I was quite shocked at the end when I looked at my stripe. I was like, "Whoa, okay, this is way more than I expected from the people we actually had in there." So I think we had less people show up than I expected from our audience, and then way more revenue generated than I expected. So I think I'm sold on it now.
yeah, and what we're gonna do now in the future is try to automate it. And to me, the webinar is not so much as a selling tool, but an education tool, right? And
Yeah,
when we were developing the webinar, I said, let's not just create a webinar around artist tools functionality, but then also let's talk about how it can actually help the artists, primarily artists who are tuning in to watch the webinar, how they can use the artist tools to help them to get to their end goal, right? Which is again promoting their music and boosting their music career. Because artist tools is a tool, There's 15,000 other tools, but what makes great software companies stand out and be really successful in terms of sales is they manage to connect the feature, the functionality, the core feature and functionality of their SaaS with the dream outcome, desired outcome of the person. They don't promote necessarily the functionality, but they promote it in conjunction or as means to an end, right? And they promote the end as well. If we take ClickFunnels with Russell Brunson, that's what he did so well, right? And that's why ClickFunnels growth has skyrocketed so much, because when you look at, let's say, Unbounce, which was a similar platform, and they were just a landing page builder. Well, ClickFunnels was the same, but the marketing their marketing strategy was not built around, hey, we're like Unbounce, or but we're better and we offer this functionality or that functionality. Their messaging was, "Hey, this is what building a funnel can do to your business or for your business, right? This is how much money you can generate. This is how many clients you can generate. This is how many leads you can generate." So this is the approach that I envision for artist tools. Obviously, you still want to keep a certain level of SaaSness, right? Softwareness to it, because at the end of the day, it's a software. It's not like a business coaching company or anything like that. But it's still important to show people how your tool helps them to achieve their end, their desired outcome, and give them the education, right, on how they can use the tool to achieve it, as opposed to, hey, this is a tool. We're really good at giving insights or tools. Well, okay, how can I use these insights to promote my music? And when you also give them some know-how on some of the marketing strategies too for free, that's when magic happens. And that's, I think, what happened on the webinar, why it was so successful.
Yeah, definitely. I think the strategies that like work aren't really that known. So like presenting them easily. This is how you do it. You can use any tool, but Artist Tools does it best.
And that's also funny, right? Because you said there's other tools that can also do it, and you also said I don't promise anything. I these are the methods. This is what works. From you talking to literally dozens of artists and curators that are doing it, and these are the three methods that really work. And this is how you can do it with the Artist Tools or any other app. But since you're on this webinar, may as well give Artist Tools a
Yeah,
shot.
exactly. And you know what? You'll get a good deal here too.
Yeah, yeah, with
Yeah.
bonuses and stuff.
I think promising, like making sure not to promise a dream was important for me too. Cause like I didn't want to turn it into,
For sure.
yeah, that type of business where you're selling a dream as opposed to the product. But it did very well.
Awesome. So what kind of vision do you have for the Artist Tools moving forward, let's say for the next 12 months?
It's just like revenue goals or in general goals.
We can talk about revenue and general. We can start with general. I think it'll be easy, more interesting to you.
Yeah, I think the my biggest goal is to turn our like bot detection technology into more of like an industry standard. Because right now, a lot of like major businesses are using the technology, but it's either like the end user isn't aware that the data comes from us. So there's not really a uniform, like trusted place in the industry to get this information. So I guess that's the big one, turning it into a standardized like rating that can be used across the industry. And then ideally, any single artist that's marketing music on Spotify would be aware of this product, that they need it, especially for
Mm,
the bots, because every single artist is susceptible. And those are the two main primary goals. I think, let me think of another one. I think there's probably more in there. And I guess like product wise, I would like to refine the product more. I'd like it to be more intuitive. I'd like there to be more education. I'd like it to like an average artist can come in with no experience and no knowledge and just start a marketing campaign, understand the data here, understand the value of the data there. I think those are the three big things.
sounds good. Sounds good. And revenue wise?
I was maybe ambitious, but I'm hoping to double revenue probably in the next 12 months. That would be nice. Um,
Quite attainable, man. It's not that crazy for
yeah,
you to wish that.
I think that's a realistic goal.
Nice. Anything else that you would like to add before we finish? Anyone who might be thinking about working with me but is doubting or is still uh, evaluating?
Alright, I'll say what kinda sold me on working with you in the first place.
Okay.
So, I think initially, I've worked with, like, a few people in the past, and I feel like when you're not getting asked enough questions or, specifically that, you're not getting asked enough questions or they're not curious enough, that is, like, a red flag, and I think that you were just, like, so overboard in, like, trying to understand how the business worked, like, what the customer sees, what like, just asking it any like, an overwhelming amount of questions, but in a good way. I think that sold me on, like, okay, he's trying to get the full picture so we can really iron out all the intricate details and how to position everything. That was probably the selling point for me. That showed me that you actually,
Mm,
like, cared and wanted to get fully immersed to, like, I guess, come up with the best strategy or, like, find all the possible angles. That's what sold me.
nice. Thank you for the kind words, and I'm hoping for a much longer, successful collaboration.
Me too. Me too.
Nice. All right. Thanks, Aaron. I'll finish it here and go check out Artist.tools
Just go ahead.
if you're an artist or a music curator.
Yeah.